Marco Rubio has fully endorsed JD Vance for president. This is before the midterms, before JD Vance has even announced that he's running, and before a primary could even happen where Marco Rubio himself could be in it to win it. Take a look at what he said.
You are talked about quite frequently as a possible contender in 2028. Do you have your sights set outside of the State Department?
Well, I think JD Vance would be a great nominee, and if I think if he decides he wants to do that, and so I think he's doing a great job as vice president. He's a close friend, and
that is incredibly unpolitical and very direct. I mean, that's just not standard political reply. Usually, what you have is, "Oh, I'm just focused on my job right now. We're just trying to do the best things for the American people." But that's not what he said. What he said was, JD Vance is the man. He said, I'm best buddies with him. Don't talk to me. Talk to JD Vance. And I'll be honest, I hear that, and I'm just a little bit sad to hear that from Rubio. And the reason why is because I'm blown away by how well Rubio has done as Secretary of State. I think a lot of people, a lot of my viewers I know share that sentiment with me. If you had asked me at the beginning of Trump's presidency, who is the cabinet member that would be the best? I don't think Marco Rubio would have been it. I think maybe Kash Patel would have been up there. Maybe Pete Hegseth. I was pretty excited for Pete Hegseth. I certainly like Marco Rubio, but he has really gone above and beyond. And if Marco Rubio is the president in 2028 or in 2029 rather, I'd be quite happy. So I'm a little sad to hear that. At the same time, after saying something like that, how do you run against JD Vance? It just doesn't seem like that's going to happen anymore. So it seems like JD Vance is just going to win. Here's the most recent polling on it. If you look, Vance is ahead at 53%. He has a majority already, which again, things happen. Primaries are dirty, campaigns happen. Those numbers will certainly change, but 53% is so high. Second place is DeSantis, as it should be. DeSantis is fantastic, obviously, at 7%. Rubio at 5%. Again, as it should be. Like, the Republican Party is not far off with this. This makes a lot of sense, even though I personally think, I've expressed this on the show before, I think DeSantis and Rubio would be better. I think their track record's better. If you look at what JD Vance has substantially done, he hasn't done much. He's very persuasive, very good speaker, didn't do anything as senator. He was barely a senator. I mean, he was senator for 2 years. As vice president, again, he's been a good cheerleader for Donald Trump, but DeSantis has a resume, man. He has done it. He knows how to be an executive. Marco Rubio has a resume. These guys know how to get it done. So I prefer them. And I think JD Vance is tied up in some tech billionaire things that I've also talked about that on the show before that I'm not a huge fan of. But with all of that said, the Republican Party can look at Vance, DeSantis, and Rubio, and that just makes sense. I mean, you've got the vice president, you've got the most successful Republican governor, maybe in the history of our country, and then you have an incredibly successful Secretary of State. It's just spot on. RFK Jr. at 5, Haley at 3. No, no to both of those. RFK Jr. has exceeded expectations for me as well, but he is a liberal. We can't have him. Haley, a neocon at best. Big issues. I think we all know where Haley is at and where I'm at and where pretty much everybody who's a Republican is at with Haley, except maybe 3%. So it's very indicative of a reality. If you look at Polymarket, which is not polling, this is just the betting market. So they're looking at, the reality on the ground and making bets based off of that. It's remarkably similar to the polling, actually. JD Vance is at 55%. So almost the exact same amount. This is, again, the percentage that Polymarket is saying these people have to win the Republican nominee. JD Vance is at 55%, Marco Rubio at 10%, Tucker Carlson at 4%, no, no. Ron DeSantis at 3.6%. Again, JD Vance being on number 1 and Marco Rubio at 2%, perfect. I mean, I think that's absolutely accurate. However, with all of that, the data is so absolutely clear for JD Vance that pollsters have actually stopped polling Republicans. That poll that I just showed you is from a few weeks ago. And usually you've got 1 or 2 polls a week. That is true for Democrats, but it's not true for Republicans. Pollsters are actively polling Democrats more than Republicans right now. And the reason why is because JD Vance is just so on top, whereas the Democrats are much more volatile. And here's what is interesting with this upcoming election. And I really can't think of an election that's been like this in a very long time. It looks like on the Republican side, we have a lockdown primary in JD Vance. It will hardly be a primary if we're being honest. And then on the other side, we have an incredibly open primary in the Democrat Party, more open than we've seen this century. And so, again, never in recent history, and this is a fascinating stat, Have we had a Democrat Party where someone was not polling above 30% at this point? And so right now we could have anybody. It's usually like, you'll remember back to before Biden. Biden was up there. Before Trump, Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders were up there. There were some stragglers at the bottom. You had like Andrew Yang, Cory Booker, Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren went a little further, but people we knew were never going to win. But you had Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, and Biden at the top, and you knew that one of the three of those were going to be the nominee. You already knew. Right now, we really don't know. We have guesses. I've got my own guesses. I think AOC is my top guess. If you ask me right now, I don't think she's the best choice for them, but I do think that is kind of the vibe they're going for right now. But we've just never had it where all of the Democrat candidates are sitting at 10% or 5%. And so that could be an advantage for Republicans. They'll be unified around JD Vance, I think. However, looking on the flip side, it could be, in a way, an advantage for Democrats. The person who emerges from the primary might be a very formidable campaigner to beat out everyone else. I mean, JD Vance, like I said, I don't think he's going to have to do much campaigning. I think people will really coalesce around him quick, especially if he gets the endorsement of Donald Trump, which is not hard to believe that he would get it. On the other side, though, Democrats are going to have to really fight each other. It actually is somewhat similar to what Donald Trump had to do in 2016. You had a massive array of candidates, and Donald Trump freaking fought hard, and then he continued to fight hard, and he beat Hillary Clinton. So only time will tell, but one of these parties is going to have a huge advantage based on their very different primaries. One of my favorite things about the show is being able to interact directly with you, and that's why I've created my new Substack. Every single Saturday morning, I release a piece of content that is not on the show. It's written, it's directly to you. I can do Q&As with you as well. It's completely free. It just shows up in your email, so go check it out right now. The link is in the description below. Thank you so much for watching this show, everybody. Please like the video so other great patriots like yourselves will see it, and you can tune in every single weekday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show, or you can watch another video right here.